So we are here today to tell you a little bit about our English degree programs at IPU Berlin. We are going to talk about the Master of Psychology with a clinical focus and our new program, the Master of Psychology focusing on organization. First, I would like to introduce us again, as Mr. Goldberger did. So I'm Lisa Birkenhagen. I'm working as the incoming coordinator and the Welcome Center of the International Office. With me, I have Professor Dr. Phil Langer. He is a lecturer in the Master of Psychology focusing on organization, and he will tell you more about the program and what makes it so special. And we have Andres Magditz with us. He is a student assistant in the International Office, and he is one of the students of the Master's program Psychology with a clinical focus. Yes, Phil, would you like to start?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's really a pleasure being here with you tonight. My name is Phil Langer, as my colleague just introduced me, and it's my pleasure to tell you a little bit about the IPU Berlin very briefly. Probably you haven't heard about the International Psychoanalytic University before you've registered for tonight's session, because, you know, IPU Berlin, it's not Harvard or Princeton, right? But we have something in common with Harvard and Princeton, because we are a governmentally recognized private university with high ambitions. And I mean, Harvard and Princeton had kind of a couple of centuries to get to their kind of current state of excellence. And we just started about 10 years ago, so we still have a couple of decades to come up with Harvard, but we'll get to that. So, and within 10 years, or a little bit more than 10 years, it's been a success story. So we started in 2009 in Berlin with really kind of a handful of professors in a small building and 35 students, I guess, in one master's program. And within 10 years, we've grown and developed. Right now, we're over 25 professors. We are running a couple of bachelor and master's degrees in different subjects, and we are approaching 1,000 students right now. So it's really kind of a success story that we can tell here. And, you know, thinking about like the ratio between lecturers and students, it's kind of good. We not only have like 25 professors, we have external lecturers, we have kind of research and lecturers, so the ratio is quite good. So high quality of support, and I can just tell about myself. If you have any questions, if you struggle with something, it's always kind of an open door policy. You can come around, knock at my door, you can kind of call me and kind of meet me on the campus, talk to me. So, and we've been evaluated the best university from a student's perspective a couple of times, and always kind of on the very top of the evaluation among students in Germany, which is kind of fantastic, I guess, at least for me, and it reflects this kind of thriving and thrilling atmosphere at the campus. It's kind of research oriented at the same time, lots of research projects going on here, and also students are invited to participate in the research projects and be part of that in the many different functions, and are introduced into research methods and kind of real field research at the same time. All study programs are accredited by the state, of course. When we talked about the psychoanalytic approach, this is kind of really special, and like allow me like 30 seconds to add on this, because, you know, part of the success story is really kind of the idea that with the foundation of the Psychoanalytic University in Berlin, we wanted to make a difference, like beyond this kind of dominant mainstream psychology universities programs, etc. We wanted to create a place for critical thinking, for psychoanalytic thinking, for like interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and yeah, exciting thinking and doing research. And I think really this we were able to accomplish, and we're still doing this at the same time. So the next slide, because I'm always too much in telling stories. So Lisa, please kind of interrupt me. Here it's kind of difficult to see, but that's kind of a map from above Google map, I guess, where the International Psychoanalytic University is positioned and located in Berlin. And what you see, well, or can kind of imagine, and if you check that on Google Maps later, it's really in the center, in the heart of Berlin. It's kind of main station, the main station, railway main station. It's kind of one station away. Kind of you can walk in kind of 10 or 15 minutes. Even the airport, I mean, it's about like 1 hour or kind of 45 minutes with a train. So the university is located directly at the River Spree, kind of one of the rivers flowing through Berlin, which is wonderful because, you know, summer is approaching right now, and I usually do my seminars in the kind of late afternoon, so from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. So after the seminar at 6 o'clock, you can get a cold drink and sit together with the students at the River Spree, enjoying the sunset. Well, if the weather allows for that. So kind of really great atmosphere to be there. We don't have a kind of huge campus as Harvard or Princeton, but this kind of small university is located very closely also to Tiergarten, one of the huge parks in Berlin with lots of leisure activities, and also kind of very close Brandenburg Gate, kind of the center for the history of Berlin, like German, where the wall was, and where the wall also kind of was overcome and reunification was celebrated, and the Reichstag, which is kind of the place for political Berlin, the parliament. So kind of within 5 or 10 minutes, also like the political actors are there, and so you can kind of get into contact there as well, which is also interesting for the master that I'm going to introduce very closely with the focus on organizations, because also kind of the political realm is part of the organization of life and work. So that's right now from my side. You've already read the text here that I'm not gonna kind of repeat, and I would hand over, I guess, to Andres for introducing one of our international master's programs.
Dein Mikro.
Thank you very much, Phil. I'm sorry I had the microphone muted because I think it's a really nice introduction and a really nice description of the day-to-day life in university. And I really like that, you know, university, maybe it's not a huge place in the sense of the facilities, but, you know, it's in the middle of a great city where you can have and make a lot of connections and explore. And I mean, I come from Peru, and in Peru, our universities are always like around walls and around security. You know, it's very different than here. And here you really have the feeling that, yeah, education places or institutions, because you can also visit public libraries and so on, are intertwined with the city. But without going into much detail to that, I would like to present you the analog master of the English track, which is this German Master of Psychology with a clinical focus in English, which, well, I started studying in this university since the bachelor's, and I really appreciated a lot the reflexive psychology and theoretical psychoanalysis that was taught to me, from which I had no education about it before. When I was in Peru, when I was 18 or 19, I really had no theoretical notion of what I could do with psychoanalysis or what psychoanalysis was about. Social psychology, I mean, was a topic that struck me a lot, especially for, if I know you maybe have seen, well, day-to-day and societal issues in this current society, you know, and the effect it has on day-to-day life people, and how the day-to-day life people and the feelings of the people also affect this political social area. And well, in the study, we also have the part of developmental psychology, which is more regarding to child upbringing, or working with children and and the development and the constitution of a psyche, ideally a one that is able to regulate itself. With that, we also have this diagnosis and intervention, which is of course part of the more operational part of working psychotherapeutically or clinically. And because we are a really research-oriented university, methods and practice-oriented research is something I was also taught, and it's something I think the mixture of the theory, the social aspects, the developmental, like it's a really nice place to have a very broad view of what you can do and how all these disciplines are intertwined. So I think it's if I wouldn't think it's a great place to study, I wouldn't be finishing my studies, you know? Yes, we can go to the next, maybe. And this is how the first semester usually looks like. Usually there is, of course, the summer and the winter semester, but usually the regular time to start the masters is in the winter semester. And well, there you can already see in the developmental psychological branch, we have developmental theories, but we also have mental disorders that are, of course, part of the clinical branch. We have these introductions to research methods. If I may also talk a bit about the colleague or my professors I see here are really like professors, not only from Germany, but also from East Europe, also people from like mid-Asian background. I personally have met also some Latin American teachers, and the university starts to, even though the name has always been international, the university is very interested in broadening this space for international students, And well, I must say, a really nice course I had that opened my mind and really changed my perspective about psychology and life at the end of the day was this introduction to psychotherapeutic interventions and to theoretical psychoanalysis with this Professor Dimitrievich. It was a really nice experience. But yeah, we can talk about maybe a bit more of that afterwards.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andres. So we had planned to show a video after that about one of our students' journeys, but we decided to put it at the end of this presentation for technical reasons. So I hope you don't mind that I skipped this part. So now maybe Phil, could you tell us something about our new program, the Master of Psychology focusing on organization?
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's me again. And thanks, Andres, for like introducing the other master. I was part of the of the master also in the past, and kind of listening to you. It's kind of a pity that I'm not teaching there currently. So, but what I'm doing, among other things, is being part of the master's programs in psychology, focusing on organization. A new one. It will start in winter, and it's been kind of a planning phase for about 2 years. We've been working on this master's program, and again, coming back to the general idea of the IPU to introduce critical thinking and to allow making a difference. This was only also part of the idea to develop a new master program, because you have master's programs in organization psychology like hundreds and thousands all around the world. So what is the difference here for coming to IPU? It's exactly this kind of thinking about the complexity and the ambivalences and the contradictions of being in organizations, of working in organizations, and beyond, within the social and political environments that we are all in. Because work is always kind of a challenging thing, right? So it can be a source of pleasure, but at the same time, it can be a source of suffering and guilt and pain. And it can be workplaces can be places for connecting to others, but it can also be places for being disconnected and loneliness and feeling alienated. It could be a source of sense making and meaning making, but could also be kind of a source for senseless routine. And it could be a place for growing and thriving, right? But also for failing and falling. So it's kind of whenever we think about work and working in organizations, it's these kind of ambivalences and contradictions. It's always kind of a challenge that we struggle with it. And so what do we need to, navigate these challenges more or less successfully? And so it's the more complex the environments become that we work in, the more challenging the works are. Think about like wars and conflicts and the global effects they have. Think about the climate crisis and what it means for us to being part of society, of working within organizations during this. Think about the pandemic and health issues that also had a huge impact on the way that that work and labor was organized and structured in many ways. Think about digitalization, etc., etc. So this was like the idea for creating this master, to take into account the complex and developing and evolving different ambivalent environments that work is organized, the society, etc., etc. So it's kind of a master, of course, in psychology. It's a psychology master with a special focus, as I said, kind of normally accredited with 120 semesters over 4 semesters, as you see, with kind of similar focuses that Andres talked about, with this reflexive psychology, the research focus, etc. But of course, with kind of new focuses and particular ones on organization, on work, on business, health and environment. So like bringing together different aspects of the way that we live and to work here. And so to show you a little bit on the next slide, kind of the special features of what we do. We tried to organize the presentation in like sharing the special features, this kind of a reflexive paradigmatic foundation. We're thinking about the psychological framework as a critical one in regard to social social psychology, cultural psychology, but also, when thinking about the different environments that work is organized, it's kind of a globalized world and shaped by plurality, and so we need to think about this also globally and in terms of inter and transcultural issues. And what does it mean for organizations to work in these places? What do leaders need to do kind of an effective leadership in this regard? At the same time, like from the very strong critical basis of science to develop certain transdisciplinary perspectives on like how on work and health and prevention, for example, because thinking, for example, about the environment or digitalization, whatever, it creates challenging also in regard to creating healthy working places. We have focuses in different models also on strategic communications and counseling in regard to, for example, counseling for business and NGOs in different segments of the society, etc. So I'm not going to repeat everything that you read on this slide. It's kind of the research focus, high practical orientation, like internships are integrated in the program. And what is interesting here, and maybe like Lisa can talk about that later as well, it's kind of, we have a huge international network also with different partners in regard to internships, kind of local, regional, national, but also international cooperations with NGOs, with different other universities, with different other partners in Europe and beyond. And what is also part of the program is that you can choose different courses, lectures, and seminars from all other master programs that we have at the university, like the other master program that Andres included. And if you are, if you can like listen to or can understand German as well, we have master's programs also in cultural studies, leadership and counseling, psychosis therapy, etc., etc. So you can choose from a wide range of different elective options before you can decide where to do your master thesis at. So I do have a last slide, but this is just to say that, of course, before we started developing the program, we also did an analysis of future perspectives and see, well, what can you do with this master's program? Is it kind of for research only? And of course, it could be kind of a starting point for a research career, for an academic career, to strive on the kind of research path. But there are so many different fields of activity that you can go to in NGOs, especially in regard to environment, but not also. I talked about the political realm of environment that we are in. So also kind of political consultancy could be part of that, or as you see on the right side, issues of other counseling consultants, organizational health consultancies, humanitarian and development aid organizations. That is part of where I come from and what I usually do in my research. So period from my side right now. I hope you get at least like this feeling of coming to an exciting place for critical thinking in an interdisciplinary way. So Lisa, it's up to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much for this presentation, Phil. It was very interesting to hear about the program. So before I get to the application and admission program, I would like to mention that in the chat, there are some of our colleagues present from the admissions office and from the office for studies and teaching. And they can answer also if you have any questions in the chat, you can just post them there and they will help you out if you have questions about the admission progress of the application process. So I just want to give you a quick overview. To apply, you first have to check on our website if you are eligible for the program. So it's not that hard. Well, it's not like we say you have to have this degree. So we're very open. It's okay if you have a degree in social science, but you would have to have at least 60 credit points in psychology to get accepted into the program. If you only have 45 or more credit points, but less than 60, you would get a conditional admission and you could take bridging courses at the IPU. They would usually take place before the semester starts, so you would have to arrive to Germany a little bit earlier, but then you could just join the program with everyone else once it starts. So if you checked and you know I might be eligible, you would have to check the application deadlines. The application deadline this year is the 15th of July for international students and the 15th of June for European students. Correct me if I'm wrong if I mixed that up, but you can also check again on our website. We have all the deadlines there. You have, yes, all the semester dates, like when does the semester begin? Officially it does in October, but the lectures begin mid-October, around the 15th, 17th it usually starts. So once you checked all that and you feel like, yes, I really want to apply, you can hand in all your required documents via Uni Assist. It's a website that checks the eligibility for us, that compares degrees from different countries. And yeah, and basically they will send us all the applications that would be okay for us, that we could accept. Once you handed in your application, you usually don't have to wait until the deadline has passed. The admissions office gets back to you as soon as they received your application and reviewed it. And if you fulfill all the requirements, you will be invited to a personal interview with one of our professors, which in my opinion is a very special thing because the IPU staff makes sure that you really are a fit when it comes to personality as well as your grades. So of course we check your grades and see if you are eligible to participate in our courses, but it's also very important that your motivation and that your goals match the university. So we make sure that we really have candidates that can make the most of their degree here. Yes, so that would be just a quick overview of the application process. One thing we offer, especially for the master focusing on organization, would be that you could send your application documents to the international office or to the admissions office, and they could give you a quick answer like this could work, like you will be eligible or you won't. Like they could give you a first answer before you admit everything to Uni Assist. So if that helps, you could also use that opportunity. And yeah, I just want to tell you again why it's so great to study here and where you can get more information. So if you would like to get more information about the life at the IPU and in Berlin, you can check our website. In the international part of the website, you can find a guide for international students. It will tell you all about visa and housing and health insurance. It will have a lot of tips, even where you can go eat around campus. Like it really gives you an overview of living in Berlin and studying at the IPU, like everything you have to know. We also have financing options. We're actually working with the DAAD, which means you can always use the DAAD database to look for financing options. You can also look on our website. We offer different scholarships. We don't offer full scholarships at the moment, but you can always look. We have a whole brochure put together where you can look which options are there in Berlin and in Germany. What can I apply for? And we always have an introduction week. As Phil has already mentioned, we are very international. So about 1/8 or 1/9 of our students are international. The master's program actually opened 2 cohorts last year, the English master's track, which means we have a lot of international students right now. Gets more and more popular, and once the new students arrive, we usually have the introduction week or the welcome week, where we just introduce you to living in Berlin. We have different events about health insurances. You can meet providers, you can get all the information on visa. We also have events where you can meet people from other study courses, even the German ones. We have a word cafe where we all get together, talk about different societal or political topics, which is always very impressive and very, well liked by the students. And yes, and usually we do we do a campus tour and something in the city, like we get to explore the city together. So that's something you could really look forward to when you arrive at IPU Berlin. All the other unique selling points, I think Phil already mentioned. So I would like to show you one of our students' journey now, which is Tara. She studied in the Master of Psychology English track, and well, she's actually so impressed that she works here at IPU now. So keep that in mind when you watch that, because she was a student when we did the video. I will have to leave the presentation for that, just so you know, and after that we'll get back to the presentation. Okay. Okay, let me see. I have to share again. I'm sorry for the delay. Andres, kannst du das sehen? Ah, okay, I have to stop sharing first. Sorry. No.
I saw the video.
You saw the video. Oh, okay. WebEx just kicked me out, I think. Oh, can you see it now? If I open it, can you see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Could you give me a quick feedback if you can hear it once I start playing? Okay.
Yep, works.
I studied my bachelor's in Boston and got to do a practicum working with youth offenders. During that time, I wanted to learn how experiences in our childhood and teenage years influence our personalities. I've been living in Berlin for 5 years, and because I never lost my interest in psychology, I wanted to find a university in Berlin where I could study in English. My name is Tara, and I'm studying a master's in psychology at IPU Berlin. I like studying at IPU because I can study in an international context, and I also work at the university. It has a clinical focus on psychoanalysis, which is very difficult to find in the US. Before I started studying at IPU, I worked in a bilingual kindergarten, and I realized how exciting and rewarding it is for me to work with children. Studying at IPU is the right thing for me because everything comes together. I get to study in my native language, and the university also prepares me really well for the psychotherapist training afterwards.
Yes, so that was Tara's story. Let me see. I jumped back to the presentation. Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay,
Yes.
perfect. So actually I started it a little too early, but that's no problem. So as you might have heard, Tara was an international student as well. And as well as the international students, as the German students alike, you can all use our exchange programs. Like, we really want you to be in Germany and to enjoy your stay in Germany, but we also want you to leave Germany to explore the world, to gain new experiences. And we have two different programs that we mainly use. There's the Erasmus program. You can do an exchange semester, so you go abroad for 6 months, or you can do an internship in one of our more than 25 partner universities, and we will support you financially during that time. Promos works the same. It's more international, so if you go outside of the EU, you can use that scholarship to go abroad for internships mainly. One thing I would like to point out, part of both courses that we introduced is a mandatory work placement, like an internship, and our exchange programs would be a great opportunity to go abroad during that internship. We have a very special cooperation with the Balkan region. We have this big social trauma network that you can also read about on our website. And you could greatly profit from visiting one of the Balkan countries, Bosnia or Serbia, and really get to know the people and great experts that we're working with for many, many years. Yeah, so now that you heard Tara's story and you learned all about our exchange programs, I would like Andres to maybe, give us, sorry? Yes.
We'll
Give
give
them
you
some.
Andres' story. Well, I would say a nice way to start in that sense is as my story in this university already started almost 7 years ago. And yeah, it's like I come originally from Lima in Peru, and I went to a German school in Peru, and then I like almost instantly finished school, spent a couple of months like preparing to travel and to leave my home country, and then came here directly, and since then I have been here. And well, that is to say, or that is something I'm saying because for me, since I arrived, not only, but of course, on an academic sense, this place has been really important for my education. It has been fundamental for my later or superior education, without a doubt, and that's why also I am still here. But moreover of the academic aspect, being here as an immigrant, as a Latin American immigrant in my case, also opened or showed me that there are opportunities not only for education here, but also in the sense of work, in the sense of finding a life here, in the sense of cultivating personal interests. Well, I also put there a picture of me playing drums because I'm also a percussionist. I'm a drummer since I'm a kid, since I'm 8 years. And for me, psychology and my life as a psychologist and as a person who is getting educated in clinical psychology, social psychology, political psychology, is something that is very important for me, as it is to be a musician and at least is to do my art. And well, here in Berlin and studying here, and I'm also working here, and I'm gonna start a practicum in a couple of months in the university as well. So like in some way, not only the university, of course, but mainly the university has kind of helped me around to build my life here. Of course, not in the musical sense, but then I have played some concerts here for the university or for some parties of the university. And what I want to say with all this is that I still have room, and I have a lot of room to cultivate my personal interests in the psychology world, and also in my case in the musical world. And I think in the university that is something that is being appreciated. I mean, some professors have even talked to me about it, and some friends appreciate that I also do something else apart from psychology. But for me, it is also psychology that allows me to go there, and it's kind of like retrofit. It's a feedback of in my life, coming to study, coming to work, focusing on the theoretical aspects, focusing on people, and trying to understand, trying to help, and then my other side, which is the musical part, is trying to work in a small organization, which is the band, but also to make people feel good and make people have fun, make people enjoy. And that is that is my story to some extent. But my story definitely has a lot to do, and I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity to be studying here. As I told you, not only because of the academic stuff, of course, fundamentally because of the academic stuff, but also because of the social relationships I established here. And it's really a very interesting experience to be living and working and studying here. It's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andres, for sharing that with us. And if you have any more questions to Andres or to us about anything study related or just life at IPU related, you can ask us now. Thank you for your attention. We are now finished with the presentation, I would say.
Okay. Dear Professor Lange, dear Ms. Birkenhagen, dear Andres, thank you very much for sharing your experience, for sharing your knowledge about the university. I think it was a really good way of learning about how to study at IPU. So again, for everybody, you can ask your questions out in the chat, and we try to directly answer them now. And of course, you also can contact the university. I think in the background, Mr. Diegel already gave the contact of the admission office. So please. I would like to start out to ask a question out of curiosity myself, Ms. Birkenhagen. You mentioned a couple of times that IPU is a very international university. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit? You said 1/8 of your students are international students, which is very impressive. What countries would the students come from?
Well, we really do have students from all over the world. We have a lot of South Americans, actually, Latin Americans. We have American students, we have European students, we have, well, really students from all over the world. Like, I wouldn't put my finger on a specific country because it's a mix of all countries, and we even have smaller countries like Pakistan or I cannot even think of all the countries right now, but of course we can always like share that if anyone is interested. But we really have a lot of students, and we have a lot of exchange students also. So you wouldn't only meet the students who are studying here right now, but there will also be exchange students in every semester. A lot of students from countries like Sudan or Bosnia. So really interesting countries as well.
I can already answer to the question of Anna. And if you're meaning, I mean, I think you meant the mental disorders course. And I would say the ICD and the DSM, I mean, are used, but not only, there is also the OPD. But in general, what you will be looking at in terms of statistical manuals of diagnosis or diagnosis in the broadest sense, we use all, or the teachers that I have had show all there is, or the possibilities to give a diagnosis. And also people don't necessarily make a diagnosis based on these manuals. There's also, like in the psychoanalytical world, there are also other ways of, or other types of establishing diagnosis. So it's broad. But you have that, you have ICD or in DSM too, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martis, to answer the first question from the chat, asking on the diagnosis system of IPU. Actually, beforehand, students already could ask us questions, and I'd like to read out some of the questions. I think the first question goes to Professor Langer. And the question is about the MA. If you study an MA at IPU, do you get on the track of becoming a licensed psychotherapist in Germany by doing that MA program of psychology?
The short answer is unfortunately no, not anymore. Longer answer would say, well, like the regulations, the legal regulations has changed in the last few years, so that was possible. But nowadays, unfortunately, with a new law on psychotherapy, it's not possible anymore. We have a master's degree as a kind of direct approach to psychotherapist kind of career, but this is only taught in German at the moment at the IPU.
Mm-hmm. So maybe could you elaborate a little bit about your specifics of your programs? What's the strength of your programs in Germany? What's your unique selling points? How do you differ from other universities in Germany or actually globally?
Is it a question for me or for everyone?
I think Professor Langer,
okay.
also maybe.
I don't know. You know, I was affiliated with different universities all around the world in the last couple of years. I mean, I was in Germany with the University of Munich and Frankfurt. I was a visiting professor at the College of New Jersey in the USA. I had a visiting professorship in Austria and certain lectureships in Afghanistan and in Turkey. So I think I know a lot about different places and universities. Which makes this kind of particular really is this kind of place for kind of an open and rich critical thinking. Because psychoanalysis is not only kind of a certain therapeutic approach, it's kind of a way of a rich and reflexive thinking. It's kind of an ethos of doing science, so to say, I would say, at least. So not every of our study programs is kind of has psychoanalysis in its kind of center or heart, but it's driven by kind of a critical thinking about society and kind of the ways that we live in. And so you can't think about, as Andres says, in regard to diagnosis, you can't just, use any kind of manual in a way. You need to understand in which kind of context, societal and political context, people live in. And so what we allow for is kind of an inter and transdisciplinary way of introducing psychology as a critical science, so to say, and kind of also in regard to the methods, it's kind of not only a quantitative approach, kind of a positivist approach that many mainstream universities do have, but it's kind of a also with qualitative methods, with mixed methods in regard to research, and kind of an open kind of range of different therapeutic approaches. So not only kind of behavioralists, but also kind of psychoanalysts, but also beyond that. So kind of a really complex way of thinking and doing practice in regard to psychology in different fields.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Birkenhagen, I would like to ask you, actually I have two questions on my list which are maybe ideally answered by the admission office. Is it possible to let Mr. Diegel enter the chat or not possible? Your sound is not on, I don't.
Apologize. I asked him beforehand, and if it's okay, he would like to answer it in chat, just so everyone can read the answer as well and like.
Okay, then I just read out the questions, the two questions asked by students attending today's event. So one was a question according to the language level requirements for a bachelor's degree at IPU. So suppose I think your bachelor's degrees are also taught in English or in German?
No, they are taught in German only. We are working on English courses, but as of right now, we only offer German courses.
And yeah, the bachelor is main. I mean, it's a German bachelor at the end of the day, but it does have a few English courses. But that is the mixture. It's mainly German and some English, but not fully English.
Okay, so for the English program, Mr. Diegel answers C1 level is required for all English programs. C1 is a European standard, and basically it means like university level language skills. So there's standard exams, there will be TOEFL, there will be IELTS, other exams, but basically it means that you're capable of understanding what a professor is saying during his course in his specific field, and you're also capable of using English to write specific scientific papers. So it's a very high language skill level requirement.
I would also like to add that you can always just check the website, because it also has the specific requirements for each testing method, like for the TOEFL or like for all those English tests, it has the exact level you need in that test.
And I suppose that also for your German programs, for a bachelor level, C1 would again be the requirement. So if you're a Taiwanese student and currently you don't speak any German, you have to know that you have to invest quite a period of time to reach this C1 level. This is nothing that happens within a few months. You have to spend years and years of intense language studies in order to reach that language skills. So the earlier you start, the better. So I hope after today's event tomorrow, you immediately register for a German program, German language program. Okay, there's another question from Mr. Diegel or Ms. Overman, which is asking about the prerequisites and requirements to apply for a master's program. So the candidate who is asking it is himself currently studying philosophy at his university. And then after doing his bachelor's in philosophy, he would like to switch to a psychology program. Is that possible, and what would be the requirements in that case? Or maybe also Mr. Langer or Mr. Magditz could. Mr. Langer, you have to open up your microphone.
Yeah, I know. I think Lisa has shown that before, that it's in general, it's possible, of course. I mean, for both of the programs that we introduced here, you have to have a minimum of 45 to 60 ECTS as credits to be part of that. So within your philosophy program in the bachelor, maybe you've already had some kind of psychology courses. Some universities do, like the interdisciplinary stuff. So you can kind of collect some ECTS. And if you have enough ECTS kind of credits in this regard, you can kind of cross the disciplines from philosophy to psychology. but 45 is like the minimum of what you need to have collected within your bachelor to be able to do that.
I see. So you do have to do coursework in the field of psychology, and at least you have to have some like 45 points.
Exactly.
And then you probably still will have to do some programs on the bachelor levels before you can really directly start with the master's program. I see.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what the bridging courses are for. So you can get those extra 15 credit points you need to start. Yep.
Okay. So actually, time is almost up. I would like to ask one last question, maybe to Mr. Marktitz and also to Ms. Birkenhagen. I suspect you're quite a competitive program. It's not so easy to apply for your program. Can you give us any tips for application? Or what is the common pitfalls? What kind of mistakes should you avoid when applying for your program? Maybe Mr. Marktitz, you applied successfully for the program. What was your way to success? Do you still recall?
Well, I must say I wouldn't say there are necessarily pitfalls. I mean, that's the thing, or the question. The main question is also, what does the study mean to you, maybe, and that's where it all starts from. And I think that started to develop and started to change for me, like in the development of being studying. But maybe what allowed me to kind of successfully stay, and that's really nice how you say it, I'm really thankful for that, was that I feel interested and I feel like implied or implicated in learning psychology for social and political reasons, and for, like maybe in an ideal sense for striving for social well-being, and that is, of course, the abstract level of it, and maybe on the very concrete level it was, I also want to, be able to, I don't know, for example, teach or be able to know about a theory so much that I don't even have to be going back to the text. I just know like how I can work with theory on people or on groups or on myself, or how I can observe phenomena or even watch a movie with a psychoanalytical perspective regarding or observing how the characters are interacting. So in that sense, also as Professor Langa said, as looking at this as an ethos, like a way of thinking, a way of living, a way of observing that is way less charged with judgment in general, I would say. And that is something I appreciate a lot. And that is maybe the reason why I continued to stay here. And maybe this is I'm going a bit too far, but if you have to compare it to other, to public universities in the matter of psychology in Germany, it is really complicated in the sense that public universities, unfortunately, are not really promoting psychoanalytical thinking or psychoanalytic history, and that is, I think, a really grave mistake, especially for the studies of psychology, because if you look at it from a historical perspective, the concept of psychotherapy was also born in psychoanalysis. So, and yeah, maybe my interest and my feeling of implication with it is what allowed me to, and what still allows me, fortunately, to want to be here, to want to still learn, to want to not apprehend in the sense of make them my tools to also work and help, ideally.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much. Obviously,
Thank you very
motivation
much,
is important.
Andres. I'm sorry. Yes, I just want to add real quick that it's important to just be yourself. Don't be afraid of the interview. They won't ask like a lot of questions about your knowledge. Like you don't have to answer questions about psychology. It's more about getting to know you. Be very honest about what motivates you, like what you're passionate about. Just be yourself, and then I think you will have no problem being part of the university.
Yeah, exactly. That is the best concrete way to put it. Thanks, Lisa.
So pay attention. Ms. Birkenhagen mentioned the interview. Most German universities do not have an interview in the bachelor master level. So IPU is really interested in you as a person, on your motivation. And it's obviously it's not so much about your prior skill levels, but more on what you bring to the university and how you can be part of that university, I suppose. Is that true, Ms. Birkenhagen?
Well, it's like 50-50 because of course we want qualified students, we want great students because we are not a public university, we are only open to skilled students. We want great students, we want people who graduate with great skills and go out into the world and make us well known. So of course we want that, but we also want people who are very passionate about psychology. So of course, if you are very I can imagine when I was a student, I was very insecure about, are my grades good enough or not? Am I as good as all the other ones? Just try to be yourself. Try to show us how passionate you are about psychology, even if you might have failed that one course 3 years ago. Just tell us about you and what you want to be, and we will help you to achieve that. That's basically, I think, grades are important, but also you as a person are important to us.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe that IPU is looking at a very bright future and hopefully soon taking in many, many more Taiwanese students from Taiwan in their programs. Thank you so much for today's online seminar. For the participants, I hope you join us next time when we have another online seminar. Thank you so much.
Thank
Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye.